J.K. Winters, and I'm bringing you the first interview vlog of the project Confessions. So without any further ado, let's get started. Please welcome our first guest, N.K. Pockett. If you're on Wattpad, then you know exactly who I'm talking about. N.K. Pockett hails from the land down under, the younger of two children in the family. She gained a great acclaim around 2014 for her work Marriage by Law on Wattpad, where it garnered more than 40 million reads and gave her more than 20,000 followers. Aside from writing, NK loves to paint and cook, which is her second passion. At her leisure time, she loves to eat ice cream. So let's see what NK has to share with us today.
Hey guys, it's NKPockett here, and I'm here with Caitlin Winters to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm currently from Melbourne in Australia, where it's very hot at the moment. So I've got a few questions from Caitlin that she's asked me to answer, so let's get straight into it. So the first question is, what does your writing process look like? Well, it's a good question because I have no idea. So a lot of you know that I've been on sites like Wattpad for nearly 5 to 7 years now, and a lot of my writing is just go with the flow. I start so many books that I don't even know all of them by heart. I've currently got more than 600 drafts, and it'll probably just keep on growing as I continue writing. So my process is a little bit messy, but hey, if it works for you, go with it is what I would tell you. So some books take me 4 to 5 years to complete. That's because I work on multiple books at the same time. I always do anywhere between 5 to 10 stories, different genres, could be same genres, and I just write them till I reach the end. So if you ask me what my writing process is like, it's super messy. But I've tried to keep it organized, but I just can't. I'm just not an organized person. So that's my writing process for you. Not very insightful, but there you go. Question number 2. Do you have any strange writing habits, like standing on your head or writing in the shower? No and no. I don't have the best balance, so I cannot stand on my head. Even if I try, I'd probably just break something. And in the shower, I'll probably just, my laptop or phone will stop functioning if it gets wet. But strange writing habits, I like writing when I am very stressed at work or uni and I don't want to do that work, so then I write. So you can call it procrastinating, I guess. Alright, question number 3. Just as books inspire authors, what authors have inspired you to write? Well, to be quite frank, my writing career was an accident, but the good kind, right? So it started in high school where we had to do some electives and stuff, and I had to do a writing elective, but I was mistaken because the elective was called grammar something. So I thought it was about grammar and correcting grammar, but little did I know I was writing grammar. So I failed that subject pretty much. I was really bad at grammar, which is coming from me, whose mother is an English professor, so it wasn't the best look, to be honest. But I got there. So we all did some stories, like short stories about 20,000 words, and I decided with a few girlfriends of mine to put it on Wattpad, and I honestly forgot about it for a while, probably months or years, and I got it back on a few years later. I was like, oh, I forgot I had a Wattpad account, and somehow Marriage by Law, my first book, went from having 0 reads to probably 20 million. And there were so many comments asking me to complete the story that's how I got into it. So I did read a lot of books when I was younger, but there wasn't really any authors that inspired me to come into the writing career. It was actually, in fact, all you guys reading your comments and chatting with a lot of you made me want to continue my career, I guess. So, but I do have a few favourite authors as a kid. I used to love the Max Remy Super Spy series. It was about this young girl, Max Remy, who was a spy, and with her best guy friend, they'd go on these secret missions. It was like James Bond, but for kids. It was really cool, in my opinion. And I also love Anne Gracie. I got her book from a librarian of mine, and she gave me this really old, broken book. The pages were falling apart. I still have it somewhere. and I read the story and it was a historical romance, and I'm not really a big historical romance type of person, but I just like really liked it, and I was like, oh, I need to read more books of hers, so thank you, Anne Gracie. The next question, how important are names, titles to you in your books, and how do I choose them? Okay, look, my published books don't have the best titles, so you probably can see it's not that important to me, but every time I come up with a title, I think it's catchy, so I pick it. But then later I'm like, oh, like Marriage by Law, like what does that even mean? And then my second Christmas romance was On Santa's Lap. I mean, doesn't sound the best, but at the same time, I don't know why I picked that title. So not that important to me, but hopefully one day I'll be good at getting good book titles for my books. Something catchy that makes you say, hey, I want to read that instead of these low-key awkward ones. Do I write naked? Yeah, nah. Do you read your reviews? How do you respond to them, good or bad? Oh my gosh, so I have a big issue with this because I cannot stop reading my reviews. Not because I'm stuck up or want to read the good ones, it's just that the bad ones are really bad and they really hurt my feelings. But at the same time, I feel like I do need to read them. Like I mentioned, I got into writing pure of chance because of high school. So you can only imagine how a high school, like 13 or 14-year-old girl would write like. It's not very good. And getting that writing published, well, I didn't edit that story. So, not good. But I guess another thing, not just reviews, are comments. There's a lot of comments on Wattpad, and Marriage by Law nearly has 40 million views and reads on it now, so there are a lot of negative comments, and to be honest, some are true. I do agree with them, but reading them still hurts a little bit. And I used to, like 3 or 4 years ago, I'd read every single comment and I'd reply, but they just got so cruel and mean that now I probably don't read all of them. I'd like to, but every time I read a bad comment, it sort of does hurt a little bit, so I'm not the best with dealing with that stuff, so I just leave it. What is your best marketing tip? Honestly, I have no idea. I've never really marketed my books. Maybe I should, but the last few months I've been working on a website which I've just released. It's www.nkpockett.com. I've been trying to get my own books published. I've always had a publisher who's American and living in Australia. It's a bit hard to communicate with them. I'm thinking of going self-publishing myself just because I really want my stories to be cheap as possible for people to read. And going with a publisher, sometimes that's not really possible. So I'm trying to find a way for me to get my own printing done and then mass producing these books. And then maybe through my website I'll do some marketing, so marketing tips. Maybe in a year back, check back with me and maybe I'll have some tips, but right now I am just winging it and it'll be like blind leading the blind. If you could have any accent from anywhere in the world, what would you choose? This is a tough one because I have no idea what accent I have right now. In high school I used to work as an event hostess, which meant dealing with people from all around the world. And I've picked up strains from every single country I've worked with. Like for 1 week I'd work with delegates from America, so I'd start talking like an American. That's really bad, that's not how I talked. But whereas like party and water, everyone hears like, oh, you sound so American, but I just pick it up in a bad way. Is there a certain type of scene that's harder for you to write than others? I'm not sure if this counts, but endings of a book. I just hate writing the endings of a book. It's not because I don't want the book to finish, it's just I don't know how to wrap it up in a nice, concise manner. So that is where I get stuck. So I mentioned before I take years to write books sometimes. That's because I write the entire story in a year and the ending may take me 3 or 4 years. I am sorry, I am working on it. We'll figure it out together. So, what are common traps for aspiring writers? Okay, that's a good one. I think personally, it's wanting to get popular quick, especially on sites like Wattpad. I remember when I was first on it 5 to 7 years ago, I'd read stories and be like, wow, this story has 1 million reads, it's like the best. But now, there's so many more people on the website, there's so many more good books, amazing writers out there, and people just want to get reads and reviews really quick. I get a lot of DMs asking, check out my story, and I always reply saying I definitely will, and I honestly do. But at the same time, patience is really important. I mean, Marriage by Law has 40 million reads, but that didn't happen overnight or even over a month or a year. It was 4 or 5 years. And I guess it helps if you update frequently, which is coming from me, who updates maybe once a year sometimes. I'm sorry, I am working on it. But I think you just need patience, and you need to honestly write what you want to write, not what other people want to read. One of my stories, Born for Royalty, I'm going on a tangent here, but yeah. I had a relative plan. Like, I wanted the story about Sandra, a bodyguard for the prince. I mean, a lot of people thought they would, and actually, spoiler, let's just go to the next question. Read it for yourself. It's completed and free on Wattpad. Does a big ego help or hurt writers? Oh my gosh. Okay. It doesn't help or hurt writers. Helps or hurts everyone, in my opinion. Ego is never good. Sometimes we get so stuck up in our lives and we always think we're better than someone else. But honestly, we're just us, and I think you need to be really down to earth and honest. I think we all have moments where we are a little bit, up ourselves. It could be to a colleague, to a friend, to your parents or family. I think it's something we can all work on. It's really easy for me to come here and say, don't have ego, it's bad, but I have no idea what's happening in your lives. Sometimes ego may be a good thing if someone's trying to put you down. You do need to stand up for yourself, but at the same time, don't be cocky, don't be rude, and never underestimate someone you're talking to. You don't know what their life has been like, you don't know where they've come from. I think, even I need to take my own advice, but I think kindness really needs to be something we all practice every day. What secret talents do you have? Oh, tough one. I don't know if it's a talent, but I paint sometimes. I've got too many canvases. That's only like 10% of my paintings in the house. Mum's sick of them, which is why they're on my bed. But if you want them, just hit me up. I'll give it to you for free. Or maybe I'll pay you to take it, honestly. But I do paint. I don't think I have many talents. I mean, I bake a lot and I cook a lot. And I do have an Instagram for them. But I won't, just advertise myself, so it's fine. How do you deal with writer's block? Okay, if you're following me, you already know that I'm really shit at this. So, can I say shit? Cut it out if I can't. But I don't really get writer's block. But what I do get is like writer's opposite of motivation, basically. So all my books, like I mentioned, I've got so many of them, and I start them and I know where I want them to go, but I just don't have time to sit down and complete it. So I work full-time now. I mean, when I first started writing, I was in high school, and now I am working 40 to 50 hours a week. So, and some of the stories I started, then I'm just completing, so I am sorry about that. But it's really hard for me to find time to sit down and write, and I'm really sorry about it, and I'm trying to get better. Like, I mean, I have all this time, but I just don't have the motivation to write. Like, I know what I want to put in the chapter, but I just don't have the energy to get out my laptop and type it up. Sometimes I wish the voice recording on my phone was better so I can just say what I want to say and I'll record it, but unfortunately that's not the case. Maybe one day we'll get there. But I guess that's my type of writer's block. Sometimes I lose motivation and it takes years. Other times I can do a story like On Santa's Lap in 30 days. Done. Dusted. And then other books like The Enforcer or Born for Royalty have actually taken me 4 to 5 years. I was recently going back and reading some chapters, and I realized that in one of them, I'm like, Happy New Year, 2017. Like, I am so sorry, you guys. Do you think someone could be a writer if they don't feel emotion strongly? Of course, anyone can be a writer in my opinion. I mean, I fell into this accidentally. Emotions are great, but we all have different levels of EQ, emotional intelligence, and I think that's completely fine. I think it gives you your own writing, writing ability. Like, someone who's really emotive could write really deep and meaningful scenes. Someone that's not could be still writing amazing scenes. I mean, as long as your characters can display some form of emotion, I don't think you personally need to be that emotive. I mean, I write so many genres: horror, thriller, mystery, chick flick, romance, and somehow my romance ones always get the biggest hit, but I'm the least romantic person. So, go figure. If you could tell your younger writer self anything, what would it be? Don't be ashamed to write. I mean, I never taught my friends or family, and I sort of still don't really, because I feel really awkward when they go back and read my stuff. And then when I first published Marriage by Law, my mum wanted to tell everyone, and I was like, no mum, don't. I guess I have nothing to be ashamed of, but it's still a little bit weird having people you know read it. But I would tell my younger self not to be that ashamed, because right now I would happily tell someone, sort of. I don't know, I'm working on it. Have you ever got into a bar fight? No. But I'd probably be like the one to get into it. Looking at all my friends, I'm probably like the one that says what they want to say, and that probably will get me into trouble. I probably won't win the bar fight, but maybe I'll get into one day. How did publishing your first book change your process of writing? So it didn't change my writing process at all. I'm still slow sometimes. But I guess it was a good experience. Like I mentioned, I had amazing publishers. So they took care of everything from A to Z. So I literally sent them the manuscript and they did everything. And they sent me a copy. And I've got one right here so I could show you all. And it was really easy. So that was the 1-year anniversary cover of Marriage by Law. But the original cover, which I'm not really sure how many copies are out there, but it's this one. And I personally do not really like faces on my covers. So I was very happy that they changed the cover. And then I had my second book published soon after, which was a Christmas romance. And I had 2 covers published for this one. So I'm really into covers where they're like 2 images but 1 image. And then obviously there's a guy on the other one that my mum personally likes this one. Thanks, mum. But it didn't change much of my process, and they were amazing from A to Z. So they did everything for me. I literally just sent them the manuscript and done. So as I mentioned, I'm trying to self-publish now. So that's going to be a very interesting experience, and I know a lot of you are asking me about what I'm doing to self-publish and everything, so I will share that on my website. And hopefully one day, once I've mastered the self-publishing, I want to help other Wattpad or Inkitt or any writers, it doesn't have to be on a site, to be able to publish their books for them at a cheap price, because it's really hard going through a publisher and making like money if you want to make a career out of it. So that is something I'm working on. Okay, how long on average does it take you to write a book? Like I mentioned, this book took me less than a month, and then the others took me years. So once again, I'm sorry. So this is a preview of one of the books that are coming out soon. Oh my god, that glare. The Enforcer. This is not going to be the actual title I'll be using, but it's about that thick. I am currently editing it, and hopefully in 2020 it will be out. How many unpublished books do you have? Oh my god. Heaps. Like I mentioned, 600, but that's only on one Wattpad profile. As you know, I probably have 8 Wattpad profiles, all different names. So, a lot. Marriage by Law is on mysterious_writer. And then The Enforcer, Born for Royalty and On Santa's Lap is on XxNixonxX. I'll put them all somewhere in this video so you can have a read later. What is the biggest lie you've told? Come back to me on that, because I probably said a few lies in my 23 years. Okay, what do you consider to be your best accomplishment personally and professionally? Probably publishing books. I mean, who would have thought I would have published any books, really? I wouldn't have picked that at all. What's your favourite childhood book? Like I mentioned, it'd probably be Max for me. That's something I can think of. I also liked a book about this boy and a magical carpet. I think it was Tashi. He'd go on all these little adventures. I also like the fairy books. I'm not sure if that's an Australian thing, but it was like these 20 fairy characters, and each fairy would have like a specific like skill set. I can't remember, but I read a lot when I was a kid, and then as I grew up, I just lost time and track. I don't read now, but I write, so is that the same thing? Maybe not. What writing advice do you have for other authors? Like I've touched on it before, but just be authentic to yourself. It's really easy for me to come out and say that, but sometimes you feel so overwhelmed that some books are getting more reads than you, more comments, more votes, and you're like, maybe I should write like that person. I mean, sometimes I fall into that trap. It's really important for you to be yourself. And even though you might not believe this book is great, it will be great, trust me. There's always going to be someone out there that loves your story. Whether it's me, whether it's your parents, friends, just write what you want to write. Last but not least, do you Google yourself and how does it make you feel? I do Google myself. I'm still waiting for that Wikipedia page someone promised me, but I'm joking. It's weird sometimes because I don't use my actual name to write. I sort of like that little bit of hidden identity. I mean, the first thing I don't want people to say when they meet me is, hey, you wrote that book or you wrote this book, because looking back at some of the stories I write, I feel like, oh, a little bit cringy, like Marriage by Law. I was so young when I wrote it. I still cringe every day at it, but I'm very grateful for the fact that it's published. But I like reading stuff other people write. Like I mentioned, reviews can be really hard, and sometimes they're actual website reviews, and I'm like, I don't want to click on this link. But the good and the bad in the world, you got to take both. And as a writer, do I have any confessions to make? Well, I love a good confession, but I can't really think of any at the moment. I mean, I wear glasses, but as you can see, there is a really bad glare, so I've decided to skip the glasses for this. And I could have put in contacts like a normal person, but I am so lazy that I was like, I am just going to squint at this phone and do this interview because I promised this a long time ago and I'm still working on it. And other confessions? Okay, just in that corner there is my beloved fighter fish called Pepperoni Corn. And the confession is I forget to feed him all the time. But thankfully, fighter fish can go 14 days without food. So he is still alive and he is well. And he is honestly my favourite thing ever. Thanks so much for watching this interview, and hopefully I'll check in with you soon to let you know any updates.